All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming to our first ever educoin banking with crypto course. We're super excited to be partnering with the Near Blockchain Protocol to deliver this presentation. Before we get started, we'd like to have a shout out to a few of our partners, namely Near Foundation Grants and Blockchain Acceleration Foundation. Without their support, this course would have been much harder to accomplish and bring to you today. With that said, allow me to give a quick introduction of myself and the purpose for our presentation today. My name is Andrew, and I'm currently a student at Wilfrid Laurier University, and I'm super excited to be with you all here today. I'm currently in my 5th year of university, finishing off my dual degree in business and computer science. Previously, I interned at Shopify, BlackBerry, and Wealthsimple. And if you couldn't already guess, I'm Canadian. So shout out to all my fellow Canadians out there if we have any on the call. Fun fact, any way to reach me is to search up my last name. It's the one and only. So thank you all for giving me my 30 seconds of fame. Now let me get to the reason why we're actually all here. The objective of this presentation is to provide a comprehensive introduction to the world of banking with crypto for moms, skeptics, and everyone else. Many in the Web3 space, especially us at educoin, constantly get the question of how do I get started if I know nothing about crypto? This presentation is an attempt to begin to answer that very loaded question. By the end of our presentation, our goal is that you, the audience, will have a clear understanding of what blockchain technology is, how it works, and how it can be used for everyday transactions and investing. You will also be familiar with the most popular cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, and will know how to set up a crypto wallet and buy your first cryptocurrency. Additionally, you will be made aware of the potential risks and rewards of using crypto, and will have the knowledge and tools to make informed decisions about your investments. Overall, the goal of this presentation is to empower you with the knowledge and the resources you need to confidently navigate the world of crypto and blockchain. Throughout the presentation, I'd like to mention that this presentation is meant to be an introduction to crypto and banking. We do offer other courses for development and technical concepts, but just as I mentioned, none of this is financial advice. It's a course to get you started on your own journey. By signing up for the presentation, you'll have created your own cryptocurrency wallet, learn how to use it, and ask the right questions. I'd like to ask that everyone, learn how to use it and ask the right questions. Without further ado, let's get started. To start things off, and for everyone new, let's do a quick walkthrough of what blockchain technology is, what are the benefits, and a high-level overview of the different blockchain networks. Again, as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or just reach out to us after the presentation and taking the course online. Diving right in, let's go over a brief history of the web. Web 1.0, which emerged in the 1990s, was the first generation of the internet and was characterized by static, read-only websites that were primarily used for information sharing. Think of a company page like Google, but only being the basic about us, or the ABC content like read-only, no liking, commenting, or sharing. This web was mainly used by individuals and organizations to publish content such as text and images on the internet. Web 2.0, which emerged in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, was the second generation of the internet and was characterized by the rise of social media, blogging platforms, and interactive websites. Interactive websites. Think of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter with the ability to like, comment, and share. Web 2.0 enabled users to create and share text, images, and videos, and to interact with each other through comments, ratings, and other forms of feedback. Finally, Web 3.0, also known as the decentralized web, or the Internet of Value, refers to the use of blockchain technology and decentralized protocols to build and interact with online applications and services. Web 3.0 technologies are increasingly being used in financial services, supply chain management, voting systems, and more. The decentralized web is also seen as a way to address some of the challenges and issues with the current centralized internet, such as data privacy, security, and censorship. First, let's start by defining what is a block. At its core, a blockchain is a digital ledger of transactions that is distributed across a network of computers. Each block in a chain contains a record of multiple transactions, and it cannot be altered or deleted. This creates a permanent, tamper-proof record of all the transactions on the blockchain. This block, or blockchain, starts with the first block called the Genesis block. Block 1 in this case has a list of transaction data that essentially has a hash or a unique identifier. The first or the previous hash of this block is nothing. The data isn't hashed, and we can see that in this case it's 6U9P2, and that's actually the previous hash of block number 2. And then accordingly for block number 3, it's the hash of block number 2. And you can see how they're all interconnected. Essentially, this blockchain or ledger contains a record of all transactions that have occurred on the network, or what we know today as a blockchain. This method of hashing data uses advanced cryptography techniques and decentralization, ensuring the integrity and immutability of the data that is stored. So you might be asking, how does a blockchain network function? That's a great question. Essentially, transactions are initiated by users. In this case, Alice wants to send money to Bob. And that request can be thought of as a block. And then that new request or block is broadcasted across the network. The computers on the network, called nodes, validate these transactions. Once a transaction is validated, it is added to the blockchain, which is a collection of transactions or a continuously growing list of blocks. The block and its transactions are now permanent and cannot be altered. The transaction is now complete. Blockchains are used in a variety of applications, including cryptocurrencies, supply chain management, and more, but you may be asking, what makes it so secure? What are the benefits? Those are great questions. Surprise, surprise, there are quite a few. These can range from anything from decentralization to tokenization, efficiency, transparency, to security, to anything from automation to availability, reduced costs, and traceability. You get the point. To name a few, one of the key features of blockchain technology is that it is decentralized, meaning that it is not controlled by a single entity. Instead, it is maintained by a network of users who work together to validate transactions and add new blocks to the chain. This decentralization allows for transparency and security, and all the transactions are visible to everyone on the network. Think of a centralized and decentralized system, for example. On the left-hand side of the screen, you have a centralized system. So imagine, if you were to imagine like everyone's going to the same bank, they all have to go to the same location. Whereas on the right, it being decentralized, everyone is their own bank, which basically means they don't have to go anywhere to actually access their funds. In this case, everyone has a everyone operates on a decentralized model, allowing everyone to have more ownership and easier access to whatever they own. So moving into the types of blockchain networks, there are several different types, the most popular being public and private. Public blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum are open to anyone and allow anyone to participate in the network and validate transactions. Private blockchains, on the other hand, are closed networks that are typically used by financial institutions and other organizations to facilitate transactions among a known group of participants. In this case, permissionless or public essentially has no central authority, and permissioned or private are controlled by one authority or a consortium, which is essentially a group of people. And what we have in the middle is a hybrid. And as you guessed it, it's a mix between the two, sometimes controlled by one authority with some permissionless processes. At the end of the day, the underlying premise of banking and blockchain is enabled by smart contracts. Smart contracts at a high level are a self-executing contract with the terms of agreement between a buyer and seller. You can almost think of it how a vending machine works. You buy X for Y, there's no other way it happens. By spending $2, I'll get an apple and a milk. Well, maybe not in these economic conditions, but you get the point. By purchasing from this vending machine using a logic, you get what you paid for and nothing more and nothing less. Taking this one step further to really solidify this idea in your head, think of the scenarios that could take place when you go up and you use a vending machine. Say you don't put enough money into the vending machine, you don't get a drink. Say you put too much money into the vending machine, you'll receive your drink and a stipend on top. And say you put the exact amount of money in, you'll receive your drink and nothing more. With that idea solidified, take a quick second and ask yourself, what would you like to tokenize? What could you see as being improved by money made through the internet? Or how could you see a contract like this taking place in the world of finance or insurance or healthcare? What do you think? With the history of blockchain and smart contracts out of the way, let's dive into cryptocurrency and the basics. At a high level, we'll look at what is cryptocurrency, how it differs from traditional fiat currency, and touch on some popular cryptocurrencies and how they can be used as an investment. There are a few key distinctions between cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. The first of many is that blockchain technology is essentially a form of distributed ledger technology, and it's not something crazy new. It's actually been around for quite some time. The second is that cryptocurrencies are built on top of blockchains. So with this diagram on screen, cryptocurrencies run on blockchain technology, but not all blockchains are necessarily crypto. This is something people often get confused, and it's important to know as we move forwards. So moving into the differences between crypto and fiat, has anyone ever been frustrated with their local bank or heard of inflation? This is where crypto is the game changer, taking the power away from central authorities and helping to curb inflation. The most well-known cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, which was created in 2009. Since then, hundreds, if not thousands of cryptocurrencies have been created, each with its own unique features and use cases, but for simplicity's sake, we'll go over an example using Bitcoin. When we look at the screen, you can see that Bitcoin's on the left and fiat is on the right. Bitcoin, as it operates, is a currency created by a decentralized manner, meaning distributed computing. Essentially, everyone has their own ownership. Whereas when you look at fiat money, this currency is issued by a government, meaning one party controls all the monetary dollars or the monetary money. Additionally, with Bitcoin, the network or the actual money is governed by a majority rule. It's a network consensus. Whereas with fiat money, it's governed by a central bank, meaning that the central bank has all the power. When we look at transactions, there are no transactions that are required when you operate with Bitcoin. There's no intermediary required. How often did you go to the bank and have to deal with a teller? Did you deal with someone who has to sign something, or you have to ask somebody for your money? This is how it typically works, and every bank essentially has an intermediary or a payment provider, and they're always needed. Additionally, when we look at network speed, transactions can take seconds, if not minutes, with Bitcoin. Whereas with traditional fiat money, like US dollars, these local and international transactions, exchanging to another currency, may take days. Finally, chargebacks. Chargebacks aren't possible with Bitcoin. After a transaction has been made, it is final. On the other hand, with fiat money, the merchant can revert a transaction, your bank, or even yourself. So chargebacks are possible even after a transaction has been made, which means if you're a seller and you sell something, the buyer could actually be refunded and you're left without a product or profits, which isn't good for anybody. So what will hold all this digital money? Well, that's a great question. Wallets and digital wallets like MetaMask and Coinbase or the Near wallet actually hold all your crypto. With all these different cryptocurrencies, it can get really hard to manage. Think of this wallet as somewhere where you keep your cash and other valuable items, but sometimes you can think of it as an ID, allowing you access to applications, platforms, and events, all online at the touch of your fingertips. Now, when we look at transactions, the transaction procedure at banks and blockchain is actually pretty similar. If you're user A and you want to, say, send money to your friend, user B, let's say John for this example, you're sending money to John and it goes through the bank. The bank uses their behind the scenes systems to then send the money to user B. The only issue is that this process is typically very manual at a bank. On the other hand, where blockchain comes in is, say you're user A again, and you want to send money to John, you send it right through the network, it bounces around to all the different ledgers, and it goes through it. This process is decentralized and actually gets managed fully autonomously, meaning I don't have to go to a bank. I can just put his address in and send him the money. Going a little bit further, say that you've been using crypto for some time now. You started with 5 Bitcoin, and over the past few months, you managed to gain another 3. The profits from those trades can then be invested into new projects or new coins on various blockchain networks. New projects could include new initiatives like health and fitness applications, whereas coins could be a new type of coin with an interesting use case you think will be valuable into the future. this is a great segue into our next topic of using different cryptocurrency tools and also creating your own cryptocurrency wallet. So you might also be asking, like, there are thousands and if not hundreds of different cryptocurrencies. How do I view them? What projects are out there? There are actually several tools for you to monitor Web3 or blockchain projects. We'll take a look at CoinMarketCap for starters. You can think of this tool as a new coin price tracker, and it's super useful for seeing what coins are out there at a glance. Just going right to the website itself, we can see that we end up on a landing page. So there's no need to be overwhelmed by this. It's actually really, really simple. At the top, there's a really easy navigation bar with the different cryptocurrencies, exchanges, the community, products, and learn. So if you ever need any education, you can just stop right by here. If you scroll down, however, what I really want to get at is today's cryptocurrency prices by market cap. Market cap is essentially how big or the total market value of cryptocurrency's circulating supply. Think of it almost like a GDP. So if you were to take the GDP or total market value of Bitcoin, let me correct myself, total market value of Bitcoin, it would be $462 trillion. And as we go down, we can see Ethereum is just underneath half of that at 205 trillion. And you can keep going further and further and further. These indicators at the top are really that intimidating. The first being price, the second one being the first hour change in price, and the next one being the 24-hour change in price, next one being 7 days. It's actually pretty straightforward. When we go further to the right, you can see that there's like a volume, and volume essentially means how much cryptocurrency was traded or moved hands within the 24-hour period. In this case, it was $29 million. And the circulating supply of Bitcoin, as you can see right here, is 19 million Bitcoin with a total max supply of 21 million. And on the right-hand side, you just have a quick visual of the last 7 days price performance. Now this is relative, so just to make sure, like if it goes up and down, it'll be relative to the last 7 days. So sometimes it'll be better to click into the actual cryptocurrency and then play around with the chart yourself, because sometimes it doesn't give you the entire holistic picture. So I go to overview, you can see this actually dipped quite a bit more or peaked recently. In the past 7 days, it's been up and down. Within the past month, it's actually been up quite a bit. So if you did buy on January 1st, I believe, or January 5th, you would have made a solid profit of $8,000, which is pretty great, all things considered. When I zoom out even further, you see that in the 3-month period, it's actually been a lot more down. So you bought even before then, it was an even better buy. And if you bought in the past year, you'd actually have been down. So that's no good for anybody, but this is something to consider when you look at the price charts and movement of any cryptocurrency. Next, let's look at a Coinbase wallet. With all that in mind, let's apply our learnings into something that we can use. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you what it looks like inside of a crypto wallet. With all that in mind, let's apply our learnings to something that we can all use. I'll show you what it looks like to use a crypto wallet on the inside and interacting with the crypto exchange. When I land onto Coinbase, super quickly, when I land onto Coinbase, it'll direct me right to the home screen. Since I'm logged in, it sends me right to our company's dashboard. And essentially, you'll be able to see all of your investments. You can click home, my assets, trade, earn, learning, Web3, pay, and more. So for our simplicity's sake, we'll just go over the basics and show you what it might look like if you want to place a trade. When you go to my assets, you'll actually be able to see your asset performance based on your balances that you've had in your account. Pretty straightforward. As you can see, I was a holder on January 31st, and my investment went up on February 1st, month to date. I can also see my allocation of different cryptocurrencies. So in this case, 97% of my holdings are in Bitcoin, as they should be. I'm kidding. But you can purchase any cryptocurrency that you would like. At the end of the day, it's your choice and what you choose to invest in. Ultimately, this is just a breakdown of my assets, and this can look completely different from person to person. When I click on trade, there are two views. There is the simple view, which you can look at all these different market pairs, which is essentially the pairs that it's essentially the pair of cryptocurrencies, or you could almost think of them like stocks that you're trading with. In this case, BTC, USDT are the ticker symbols. BTC is Bitcoin, obviously, and USDT is US dollar stablecoin. In this case, on the Tether network, USDT. There's a second view here, which is advanced, and this is a little bit more intimidating for those who are not familiar with the trading platform. Let me correct myself. I was on the advanced view. This is what it would look like if you're trading on the simple view. You essentially have your simple Bitcoin with its ticker symbol BTC, Ethereum, ETH, Ethereum 2, ETH2, everything below, and all your assets. When you click on advanced, you'll be able to see the asset pairs and a little bit more technical information. You can also click the tabs to view different types of currencies and different views. So in this case, we click USD, and these are going to show prices in USD only, Euro, Great Britain pound, you get it. When we go back to the simple view, the easiest way to actually purchase cryptocurrency from an exchange is to click the nice buy button that they've so nicely put up for us. In my case, I don't have a payment method set up, so unfortunately I can't buy anything, but typically there would be a credit card gateway here for you to input your information and then choose to buy however much you'd want. The next tab that we have here is the sell. In this case, I could sell all my Bitcoin. So depending on how much I have, I can sell $123. At the bottom right here, because I'm Canadian, it'll show Canadian dollars, $1,722, which is wonderful. Additionally, you can also choose to send it to PayPal, or that's if you're cashing out. But if you want to convert to another cryptocurrency pair really, really easily, you can go right into selecting a different type of asset. So say I want to do, like I said before, USDT, doesn't show up, but I can do USDC, which is US dollar stablecoin backed by Circle, which is essentially a cryptocurrency or stablecoin backed by real US dollars. So if you're ever concerned about holding cryptocurrency that might fluctuate, these theoretically don't. They're actually backed dollar to dollar crypto to US dollar. In this case, if I wanted to swap my Bitcoin over, I could put, again, $123, and I could convert it over from Bitcoin to USD. Preview the conversion. It actually gives me my preview order, how much I will receive, paying with a Bitcoin, the exchange rate that they're giving, the Coinbase fee in this case. There's no spread because it's the simple view, and the total, how much I'm actually going to get into my wallet. At the end of the day, if you're a more advanced trader, you can actually go in. You can then look into this view right here. And in this case, we're looking at the BTC USDT pair. And right here, it gets a lot more complex. So if you're not familiar with trading, I'd recommend sticking with the initial view of the simple view. But this is essentially a technical price chart. In this case, you can adjust the time. You can adjust the types of bars that you have. You can add indicators if you'd like. You also add lines. You can add a bunch of numerous tools to help you trade. And along the side here, you have an order book, essentially how much people want to sell or buy Bitcoin from, how much, and the amount in US dollars. On the right-hand side here, you also have a buy and sell tab, which basically is a much more advanced way of trading Bitcoin. So in this case, you can set a limit price. So say you wanted to sell it at right here at that order value, you can click it. It will automatically populate the limit price. You can set your slippage for price or how much you want to make. Say I want to be 1% below how much the lowest selling price was. I click it right there, and then I can adjust the total amount of Bitcoin that I want. Super cool slider that I have right here. But ultimately, you can also type in the amount that you want into the cell right here, and it will give you a total. With that in mind, that's everything with the Coinbase wallet. And I'll move back into the presentation. Let's chat about the risks and rewards associated with investing in cryptocurrencies and what you can do to protect yourself and your investments. Cryptocurrencies, like any other investment, come with both potential risks and rewards. It's important to understand them so you can make informed decisions about your investments. So, how can you protect yourself and your investments in the crypto market? Great question. Let's go over it. When you're looking at cryptocurrencies, there are actually quite a few inherent risks. Cryptocurrencies, like any other technology, are vulnerable to cyber attacks. Just like banks can be hacked, so can cryptocurrencies. Doesn't mean that it will happen, it just means that it is possible. Additionally, competition is fierce amongst thousands of blockchain projects, some popping up out of the midst of nowhere, other ones that are existing, sometimes trying to do the same thing, other times trying to do something separate. The competition is fierce, so you have to keep up with that. Third is regulations. As we've seen with the US Senate, approving cryptocurrency regulations has not been so easy. And we've also seen legislation being pushed or pushed back in different countries. So regulations are something that every country or every citizen has to consider based on where they reside. Finally, products based on these cutting-edge technologies have innate volatilities. One day it could be working perfectly fine and investors are happy, and the next day it crashes and nobody is happy and everyone pulls out. So volatility is just part of having a new technology. Just to mention, blockchain is in its infancy stage, which is why it's also so volatile right now, because people don't fully trust it, they haven't fully adopted it, and it's not something that has leveled out at this point. Ultimately, cryptocurrency rewards come down to a specific value for the individual. That is more often than not, and especially as we've seen, is in the form of financial value. Sometimes they can come in the form of services, other types of value, but this is how we've seen the adoption of cryptocurrency into the world of finance. With all that in mind, let's just take a quick step back and let's apply our learning of cryptocurrencies and finance markets over into something that we can actually all use and create your own Web3 wallet. This wallet will serve as your login for Web3, and you'll also be issued your own public and private keys. Once you've created your own wallet, you basically follow along for the rest of the presentation. In this case, say I wanted to create a new account. I could go in and say I'm John Wick. Obviously already taken $12.99. I like that username. Sounds great. I can basically pick my username, and then I have to choose my security method. In this case, essentially, you'll either, in most cases, you'll go with the secure passphrase. So essentially, this is a virtual, unique passphrase that you'll have to write down. And the other case is when you'll have a Ledger hardware wallet, which I'll actually touch on in a bit later. For our purposes today, we're going to go with the secure passphrase. But if you do have a Ledger hard wallet, I highly recommend using it. When you go and you set up your passphrase, you actually get set up with a whole bunch of prompts. These prompts are actually a seed phrase, and you'll want to write this down in somewhere that's secure and away from the web. If you can type it, it can be traced. It can be hacked, and it's on the web. So you want to take this down and take this off the internet. This is your last resort in case you ever lose access to your account and you forget your password. So just be sure to set this up. Once you have that set up, you will be essentially into your account. There's one more step. You have to input your passphrase. But once we go back a little bit further, you'll essentially land up onto this wallet page. And this wallet page is where you can actually go to view your wallet balance. You can also see collectibles if you have any. Unfortunately, I'm a brokey, so I don't have any collectibles, but you can explore apps to get even more. With that said, you click on the explore more, you go right to awesome here, and there are a bunch of projects that you can take a look at. One of my favorites is actually Ref Finance. It's essentially a DeFi or decentralized finance application, and you'll end up on a page like this. In my case, I am logged in. So if I click the launch app, it'll go right into the application. But if I wanted to log out, essentially, click in the top right-hand corner, let's load, and I can disconnect or change my wallet depending on what wallet I'd like to sign in with. In this case, now I'm in the application and I can interact with the different protocols and applications that are actually a usability on this application. Going back to the presentation, we've been over two types of wallets, the first being custodial and the second being non-custodial. Can you tell me which one's which? The main difference between the two types of these wallets is who holds the private keys. In our case, when we're going through the setup through your wallet, we actually got to hold our own private keys, our seed phrase. In the case of Coinbase, it's more of a custodial wallet. These digital wallets are managed by a third party, like an exchange or wallet service provider, and the third party, or in this case, Coinbase, holds the private keys on behalf of the user and manages the transactions on your behalf as well. They're super convenient for people who don't have the technical expertise or the hardware or the time to manage their wallet, but also comes with the added security risks that the user does not have direct control over their private keys. Non-custodial wallets, on the other hand, are digital wallets that give full control over their private keys. Essentially, you are responsible for your own wallet, just like your real world wallet, your physical one every single day. These private keys are stored locally on your device or in a secure location of your choosing, and these provide much greater security for the user. However, they also require you to have a certain level of technical expertise and may be slightly more time-consuming to use. Now we've looked at creating a wallet, what is crypto, how to set up your wallet, and how to buy your first cryptocurrency. We'll now move forward into the next part of our presentation, which is how to securely manage and store your cryptocurrency. Hot wallets, or those on the internet, are probably the ones you're most familiar with. If you can log in on a screen, a computer, or mobile device, it's most likely that you're using a hot wallet. On the other hand, which is much, much more secure, are cold wallets. These are often in the form of physical or IoT wallets that are much less accessible, but more secure, and they're never connected to the internet unless you want them to be. These are often the best ways to keep your funds secure outside of using hot wallets. A hot wallet, like I said, just to visualize, it is something that's connected to the internet. Think a laptop, a phone, or desktop, whereas a cold wallet is something like a ledger or like almost like a mini USB drive. This is completely disconnected from the internet and only works if you plug it into a computer and then connect it to the internet. So with all this cryptocurrency talk, you might be asking, can I use it to buy groceries, electronics, or actual physical items? And the short answer is yes. Cryptocurrencies are being adopted more than ever, reaching the hands of many consumers. In the past 2 years, we've seen adoption from Visa, MasterCard, and several other financial intermediaries, and the number only seems to be growing. There are now a plethora of cryptocurrency debit and credit cards available to you. Many of them come with different perks and benefits to the cardholder. In this case, I'll use one of my personal favorites as an example, Crypto.com. Crypto.com has a Visa that offers a full refund on subscription services like Netflix and Spotify, while also offering other services on top of rebates. There are a few catches to using cards like these, like any credit card, but you'll typically find them offering sweet returns like 2% back in Bitcoin or other cool benefits. Just make sure to do your own due diligence and research before getting any type of credit. The rules are very, very, very similar to that of regular financial institutions. Now, investing in cryptocurrency. What are the different ways to invest in crypto? What are the risks and rewards of investing in crypto? And I'll briefly introduce some popular crypto investment strategies. When looking at trading in crypto, many of the underlying methodologies stay the same as traditional investing. There are two pathways that you can take. You can look at the fundamental or the technical analysis. When taking a look at the fundamental analysis, you can deep dive into the company behind the token. Take a look at the crypto market as a whole. What's the current economic condition of the entire market and what you think your future outlook will be. On the technical side, you can look at the moving averages, charts, and indicators if you feel like you have more control over your investment decisions. You can look at things like moving averages, charts, indicators, and oscillators. But this is where cryptocurrency and the world of DeFi takes a turn. What if your regular savings account turned or became useless? Or even if your high interest yield savings account became obsolete? What if there was a way to passively save your cryptocurrency with lower risk than ever before and lend it out for higher returns? This is where cryptocurrency becomes disruptive. Let's take a look at some alternative popular methods of DeFi strategies, starting with staking. This is almost like a savings account or even a high yield savings account on steroids. By storing your cryptocurrency with an intermediary or on a network, you're essentially participating as a network validator. In other words, you believe in the project or the coin, and you're willing to hold on to it. By holding onto the token, the network redistributes a small percentage of the profits directly back to the token holders, aka you, offering higher returns than that you can get at your local bank. You can even hold on to stablecoins, coins backed by fiat, for upwards of 5 to 8%, essentially holding on to US dollars within a crypto staking wallet. What this means is that if you didn't already know, your local savings account at your local bank is essentially useless. So this all sounds really, really cool, but how does it work? Essentially, with staking, you'll have a wallet. And with that wallet, once you purchase a certain amount of coins, you'll actually be able to go into different platforms and stake your tokens. These are typically on a decentralized network. And by staking your tokens, you essentially participate in the network. And by participating in the network, you are then supporting this project or this network. By supporting them, they actually give you rewards. These rewards come when every new cryptocurrency, every new token is minted. So essentially, when the network as a whole has a new transaction and a new cryptocurrency or token of the cryptocurrency is minted, you receive a very small portion of that reward right back to your wallet. It's pretty dope. Looking at a little bit more in depth, as each transaction is initiated on the blockchain, essentially anyone who participates on the network, who has a key to this network, essentially is a validator and can confirm. Let me rephrase. Essentially, these participants who are on the network, and if you want to be a validator or stake it with somebody who is a validator, you basically get a reward for holding the coin. After these new coins are minted on the network, you, by being a token holder, actually get to receive the reward. In some cases, this proof of stake consensus or the staking consensus is randomized, but in most cases, it's sent back to the supporters of the network and distributed equally. So looking at investing in crypto, there are a few popular strategies. Like I said, there's the fundamental analysis, there's a technical analysis, and you can even go as far as to say that there's value investing, that you believe in the project, and sometimes it's even the growth investment. Ultimately, some people don't care at all, they believe in crypto and just buy and hold the cryptocurrency. And that in itself is a great strategy on its own. The next two strategies are slightly more advanced and requires a little bit more thought when you actually invest in cryptocurrency. There is slightly more risk, but there's also more reward involved in these cryptocurrencies. The first of that is yield farming. Yield farming is slightly different than that of staking and presents some more risks and a higher upside. Essentially, you can almost act as a mini bank or a small-time lender. You'd essentially offer up your cryptocurrency for others to borrow from and make a yield from the interest or the profit based on a number of factors like your risk tolerance, the return you like to make, and how much crypto you're offering. In a perfect scenario, a borrower, someone who needs the money, would borrow your funds and pay the loan back with the interest directly to you. There are some fail-safes built into the smart contract, but it's not perfect and could potentially have some downside. In case of repayment failure, essentially this borrower is liquidated and you get your money back. Perfect scenario, right? In liquidity mining is the practice of lending out these cryptocurrency assets to an exchange in exchange for rewards. In this way, both the crypto exchange or this automated market maker is essentially getting liquidity. You're providing liquidity for this market maker. This investment strategy is most commonly used by market makers like Coinbase or Binance. And essentially, you as a token holder get to receive back rewards in the form of trading fees and offering up liquidity. Essentially, your cryptocurrency tokens, often more than one, with liquidity mining, creates this liquidity pool or liquidity provider token that this community can then leverage to perform financial transactions on their own. You don't really know what happens to it, but someone comes along and has a need, they want the money from you, and you basically offer it up in a very secure way for them to take loans from and borrow against. So a little bit complex, but essentially there are three alternative staking strategies. The first one being the most basic, lowest risk, and most stable return is staking. So it's essentially the practice of locking in your crypto assets into the blockchain network to be a validator. This is essentially a privilege of being able to validate the transactions and you get the rewards. There is obviously the validator risk. So if you're on the network and someone decides to take it down, there is a risk that you might lose your tokens. There is the volatility risk, which means the price of your tokens can go up and down. Again, loss or theft of funds, meaning someone hacks you or someone steals it directly from your wallet. There's extended lockup periods sometimes. In certain cases, you have to lock up or stake your tokens for a certain period of time, and these often can be long periods of time. There are liquidity risks and counterparty risks. Counterparty is essentially the probability that the other party in the investment or credit or trading transaction does not fill their part of the deal and may default or go bankrupt on their contractual obligations. This is typically where yield farming and liquidity mining have the highest risks in the sense that borrowers can't repay their loans. Finally, there are some pitfalls of Web3. With all this upside, there has to be some down. And you're absolutely right. Some of the largest problems affecting blockchain is known as the blockchain trilemma, otherwise known as facing the problems of scalability, security, and decentralization. Many blockchains are able to solve two of these problem areas, but not the third, creating the trilemma. Starting with the first problem of scalability, or the ability to process and handle large volumes of transactions and data efficiently, this can be a limiting factor for widespread adoption and implementation of blockchain and dApps, or decentralized applications. Something that many protocols are working on, as seen by Ethereum last year upgrading to Ethereum 2.0. The decentralized nature of blockchain can make it difficult to regulate and also use or implement, which can create challenges for governments, regulatory bodies trying to oversee its use. This is often seen by governments and their attempts to create legislation around this new technology. Finally, the security of blockchain, technical complexity of cryptography and decentralized applications make it difficult for non-technical users to understand and use them, which can limit their adoption and the network's use. As we transition to the final part of the presentation, I want to share some additional resources that might be helpful for anyone who wants to learn more about any of the topics that we talked about today. On screen, you can see a link to our educoin link tree, which has a bunch of awesome resources in case you want to get ahead, read more, or are interested in any topics. Additionally, we have our main educoin page where you can get in touch with us via Telegram, Discord, and Twitter. That can be through educoin or the resources again. And anyway, you can scan them on the screen. But thank you all for coming out and listening to our presentation today. We really appreciate the support us here at educoin. And we can't wait to see you guys at our next event. With that said, feel free to reach out at any point. We're always happy to chat and we're always open to feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Wish you guys all the best.